Hi, my name is Steve Faulkner. Welcome to Real Magic Review, and today I'm going to be reviewing Connected by Dani DaOrtiz. Before we do that, could you please like, subscribe, share it if that's your thing, and check out cardmagiccourse.com. That's my online card magic course of over 300 videos. I keep saying that. I'll have to count them. It's probably more like 400 now. And weekly live sessions. I was going to say every week, but that's kind of what weekly means, isn't it? So, but do all that stuff. This is the Vanishing Ink are bringing out this series, it seems now, which I didn't realise, of these connected lectures, which are Zoom lectures, you know, more Zoom magic. And every time we get more Zoom magic, part of me goes, more Zoom magic. And then I see it again, as I have here. It's like I start every one of these the same and go, oh, it's quite good, isn't it? Actually, more than good. This really surprised me because, well, we're going to what it is, okay? And I'll read the copy, all right? So, and this is what made me go, really? Because there is a thing of, is it going to be like just really watered down versions of tricks that we all love, or some of us don't love, but you know what I mean? Is it going to be stuff you do on Zoom and you go, well, and this, especially when you've got things like oil and water on Zoom, you kind of go, how are people going to do that? A sort of any card at any number on Zoom, an ambitious card on Zoom. When I read that, I was like, no, you can't, because it's all sleight of hand. But anyway, here's something as timely as it is fascinating. Dani DaOrtiz has designed an entire collection of card material for Zoom performances. In these unusual times, we need hard-hitting material. And hard-hitting is a lot of it. I know a lot of it is, but with cards, it's kind of hard to do that. These are tricks that work great live with people following along with their own cards, and they work even better remotely. Now, that's a big thing, isn't it? Does it work better remotely? Well, these kind of do, because they're remote, and that's the thing about this stuff. So all of these tricks work, kind of have a feel of them that is, I wouldn't say self-working because they're not, but like Dani's stuff, if you've seen him, and I've talked about this before, when I saw him at the session last, he just fried me with which was pretty much a self-working trick. Now, of course, it wasn't in the way that self-working tricks never are, especially if they're entertaining, because almost the more self-working it is, the more entertaining you have to be to sell it. But it also completely fried me and all the people that were there at the time. And then when he walked through, we're all going, really? Is that it? So there's a bit of that going on. But this kind of mixes the two. What this does is it takes those concepts and puts a load of subtleties on top of them, puts a load of stuff that you just can't reverse engineer, and a load of performance and moves and a little bit of sleight of hand mixed in a couple of times to make it even more convincing. I'll run through the tricks at the time. It's a 90-minute download. It's all kind of Zoom, so it's not as if it's recorded live and then you can download it. And I didn't watch it live, and I didn't feel I missed much by not doing that. Now, of course, it is lovely to see these things live. The upcoming, you know, David Williamson upcoming. By the time you watch this, it may have been, but that's always nice. But I do get almost nearly as much by not watching them live. These things, I love them. So. It's the first one, which is this ambitious, mirror ambitious, this ambitious card thing where you get someone that you're talking them through a kind of process, have a look at the cards, stuff happens, it gets lost in the pack, and then you get them to choose a card from your pack. Obviously, this is remotely. They're in their house, you're in your house. This whole thing is completely remote. They got the card from your pack, you put it in the middle, it does the ambitious card thing, you rise this to the top, and then you say, have a look at the card on the top of your pack, and they don't come in. So it's you've already got this kind of like, hang on a minute, that's brilliant. Now, we're in sort of Dani DaOrtiz territory already here, because he's got a lot of, again, this process. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. If you've seen him work, you know that it's not a bad thing. He uses it in a really joyous way. And he uses all this stuff live as well. So you are using something that already works live, and I would argue that it does kind of work better in the way that they're going, I'm in my house, all right? So in that way it does it. The whole thing isn't better, I think. I think it's different. But anyway, I'm repeating myself a bit. So the next one I've written is Ritual Zoom, which is an any card at any number. It's like a lot of any card at any numbers. It's not really any card at any number, but it works. It feels like that to the spectator. And they count down. They find the card at a certain number in their pack. They mix the whole pack up, and then they count down again, and the card's still there. And they've just done this whole shuffle procedure, which it completely fooled me. I was like, I have no idea how that's happened. So and I wasn't actually doing it. So the fact that they're doing it, which again, no reverse engineering. I know I keep saying it, but it's important in these kind of tricks that they can't go off and go, yeah, well, that must have been that time. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. The oil and water, right? This is what really fascinated me. I was like, how can you do an oil and water? And I envisaged again this whole thing of kind of like, nobody's going to go for that. It fooled me. And not only did it fool me when I was doing it. And there is a thing in the copy that talks about fooling yourself, and it did. I was like, it's brilliant. It's a sort of one, it does it with one person, but you can do it with lots of different people. You can do it with everybody at the same time. It's really clever. And excuse me. And he's got Andy Gladwin comes on and just does that with him, and Andy's sort of going, that's really sneaky. It's just brilliant. And I that's the one. Well, all of them, arguably, there's 6 effects on here, I think, but that's the one really that I think it just feels different to anything else you're going to do with a deck of cards. They're going through this thing and they spread them, and then you add a tiny bit of sleight of hand on your end, which is actually making their bit look more impressive, and you've kind of got this thing going on that they give you the magic back, and all of a sudden your cards are separated as well, if you know the oil and water plot. So it's a really cute little thing. It's kind of self-contained. It's not that long. And it's great. It's got the trick with business cards, which is the business Zoom cards, which I quite liked. It kind of had a sort of a kind of do as I do counting feel to it. And there's this, and it isn't do as I do, but it kind of had that feel to it, as a lot of this stuff does actually, because it's interactive. The spelling trick. He's got, I think it's Invisible Speller that's on one of his DVDs or one of his downloads that, again, fooled me. It's a basic idea of this really amazing technique of it's a force, and he's got a few techniques in here. He's got a few forces and a few things you can do that are really, really kind of nervy, but work pretty much all the time, I think, with a bit of audience management. But you know, the fact you're forcing and controlling cards in someone else's deck in their house, again, is quite amazing. So this speller trick, he's got this, right, everybody look at the card, he's got like a number of people in front of him, and he does what he does live. He says, all right, you've all got a card in your head, and they could all have a different card in their head, which is amazing. He said, one of you just shout at me now, right, you, think of your card in your head, and I'm going to count the cards down and silently count the card in your head, like whether it's ace or spades or something like that, and just tell me stop when you get to the end of it. Stop when you get to the end of it. You hold the card up and it's their card. I know that might not make sense. I hope it does. But the point is that any one of them could have, called out, yeah, I want to do it, and they could have had a different card, which is really interesting and fascinating again on Zoom. And then the last trick, I think I've gone for all of them, but it doesn't really matter if I haven't. The last trick is a version of the one that I saw at this session, which is called Interactive Chaotic Coincidence. Where he's got all this stuff going on. He goes to everybody, right, you've got some cards in your hand, and I want you to put one here and one here. Hang on, do you put one there? Maybe 2 there. No, actually, if you're born in these months, put 2 there. If you're born in these months, put 1 there. And there's all this madness going on. And it's fitting that it's at the end, because I think it could be a closer to a show, and also it's a kind of, you look at that and you go, I really want to do that. You could do it with 20, 30 people. I'm not saying you would, but you could have those people on Zoom at a conference that have come in and they've all got a deck of cards, and you go through it with everybody, and then they turn their cards up at the end, and there's one face up, and it's the card that they chose at the beginning and sat on. I know if you haven't seen them do this kind of thing, that's not going to make much sense, but it's a really fun interactive experience. And what I like about this is it does that thing of creating a fun interactive experience and mixing it with a trick that people aren't going to know how it works. Yes, they know they've been through this kind of process, but how the hell did that work? And this is what he's very good at. The process thing we talk about a lot, don't we? If it's got too much process, it's not going to make sense. Well, that's kind of what the routine is. That's what the fun is. There is process. And on Zoom, I think sometimes it does work better because there's a reason for it. They know that they're in their house and they're doing all this impossible stuff, but they understand that you're going to have to talk them through it. But I don't think it makes it any less magical. I think at that moment of revelation when they go, what? Is arguably stronger, because there isn't that thing of, why are you going through this process when you're in front of me? You could just take the deck and do some sleight of hand. It feels different and it feels more justified. But saying that, he does justify it in his live performances, because that's the funny stuff. When he's kind of getting all confused and going, oh, hang on, and they think, oh, he's got it wrong here. They genuinely think that. It's just what he calls this kind of, I think he calls it this organized chaos, this kind of, this really, he plays with the chaos. He says he uses the chaos. He kind of makes it funnier, and he does this stuff that clearly doesn't make any sense. And I really love it. And I think the danger with this stuff is to kind of go, not that you would, I think, if you're a more experienced performer, But if you go, I'm going to take that because it's very him. But I don't think it has to be. I don't think you have to go, oh, you have to be Dani DaOrtiz to pull this off, because you can do it in a way. You know, that thing of being confused with the cards, you don't have to do it in this big that way. You can kind of go, hang on, give me a second, I'm getting confused. Did I say the 2 or the 3? You know, that kind of thing. So you can take this stuff and adapt it. And I think it is versatile. I don't think it is from a certain style. I think most of these things you can take and do them a different way. And with the business cards, you don't have to use business cards. You can use a different thing that's more themed. He gives you lots of ideas. He gives you these techniques. And I think you do tend to kind of go, oh yeah, I could do that, that, and that, and that, which I always talk about. If I can do that, anybody can do it. It kind of opens up the creativity. And this is a really creative project. I can't imagine Dani coming out of anything bad, and I was worried that this was going to be, is this going to be like I said at the beginning, poor versions of his tricks? And I really don't think they are. I think they're incredible versions of his tricks, and I really enjoyed it. I sat there for 90 minutes last night. I watched every minute, the cards in hand for a lot of it, and kind of I've got a Zoom thing happening next month, and I'm going to take one of these things, either I think the oil and water or the interactive chaotic coincidence at the end. But I think the good thing is it's 6 tricks, it's not 20 tricks. It's 6 things that you go, this is just brilliant. It's really clever. And I know for a fact that people on the other side of that screen would love every minute of doing this thing. I would say with this, there's a couple of things that are, no, one thing, there's a technique in it that with this any card at any number thing that I would be slightly nervous about doing without a lot of practice. And that's fine, you practice, but it's quite a hard thing to practice. So I kind of thought of all this stuff and thinking, God, if that goes wrong, you've got nowhere to go. But I think if you know a little bit of sleight of hand, the worst case scenario is you take that risk, it kind of doesn't work. And I don't think it's really risky. I think we practice this bang on. But if something doesn't go right, or your audience management isn't really on, with a cull and a wallet or something like that, you can kind of get out of it and still do something that, because they don't know what's coming up, do they? So I think if you go into it with that mentality and go, right, okay, that's worst case scenario, they don't do what I've told them to do because they're perfectly difficult, but I'm at a screen and I can then do something cool. I still think you can do that sleight of hand stuff on Zoom. You can name a card, put it out of your pocket, you know, name a card, second deal, and is that it? I've done it on Zoom and it gets a really strong reaction. So you can, I always think it's worth knowing a little bit if you're going into this stuff. But you definitely don't need to. Most of this stuff has got no sleight of hand in it at all. And if it has, it's very, very simple. And audience management is the thing. I think this is a test of audience management. I think you have to be prepared to be very explicit, but also cover that explicitness with this memory thing he talks about. So he's very good at going, right, you do this at the beginning and they're going to have forgotten by it by the end, because you've put all these MacGuffins on top. You've put on these kind of red herrings, these things that they're following. They're going to forget that they did this one little bit, which was actually quite subtle anyway. And they do. Yeah, if I take a card from a magician and I'm helping a friend, and I half of the time do forget the card, and we know a lot of people do that. So the fact that most people forget a card unless you go, right, remember it, don't forget it, or a lot of people forget the card, the fact that you've done all these 20 things, they're not going to remember this one little thing. So you need to perform it in your own style or whatever that is. You can't just talk through it, I don't think, but, well, maybe you can, but it just wouldn't be as good. You need a bit of audience management, but if it all goes wrong, it's a lot of fun and everybody has a nice time, don't they? So I really enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to the rest of these, because I want the material. I'm going to have to start doing Zoom stuff. That's kind of the way it's going to be now, because December's going to be quiet, isn't it? So listen, have a great one. Thank you very much for watching. All the details will be below. Thank you to Vanishing for sending me this, because it's always a joy to watch. I learn so much when I watch this stuff, which is, again, one of the reasons why I started doing this, to maintain my learning. And I think anybody that watches this will learn a hell of a lot. Even if you're not going to do Zoom magic, I think you'll just learn a lot about these techniques. And it's a good value for money as well. So all the links below. Have a good one. Please like, subscribe. Check out Card Magic course for learning all those sleights. There are so many sleights, all the ones you're ever going to need, and more, because we always want more than we need, don't we? That's human nature. But take care. See you later. Bye-bye.